All right. And we are live. Welcome, everyone. This is Tracking the Tropics and Tropics Watch for August 25th, 2020. I am Isaac Schaff with USA Storm Watch and USA Severe Weather Network. We are also relaying this over USA or Illinois Storm Watch as well. We will also get to our hurricane forecaster references. We have JD. We are also joined by Andre Brooks and Matthew English. Yeah, and feel free to holler anything if you do have any comments, and I will solo in on you guys as we get there. But yeah, let's get to it here. I'm going to get this bigger screen there, and I do apologize for the buffering there. It'll improve hopefully throughout the stream there. But there is the rapid intensification there of Hurricane Laura that is over the Gulf there, and I'm going to maximize this here on my screen here, and yeah, we can see the eye wall within there. We can see it coming in. Looks like the spiraling downdraft kind of getting in the way there at the upper levels there. And yeah, when we see all that spiraling, obviously that's where all of those winds and heavy rain are located, and it's kind of spiraling around there. So obviously that's a sign that we're getting that rapid pressure intensification. There's Louisiana, by the way, up there, if you're able to see that. And we can see the outer bands starting to push on, or the far outer bands. Looks like a couple of showers moving ashore there, and obviously near the center there. And yeah, we will get the information on there. And I will point out that we are at a Category 1 hurricane. And yeah, right now, Laura, right now the maximum sustained winds are at 85. The minimum central pressure is 983. That is as of 7 o'clock p.m. Central Daylight Time. And yeah, we're going to continue strengthening over the Gulf of Mexico, of course. And yeah, we got storm surge warnings, hurricane warnings, particularly from San Luis Pass to Intracoastal City, parts of Texas and Louisiana. We also got storm surge headlines across broad swath of the coast as well, or the central and western Gulf Coast areas. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. And then, yeah, I'm going to go back to my stream window. Oh, we're still a little blurry there. But, yeah, hopefully we can get a little bit of an idea of what we're seeing here. And, yeah, if you guys want to request a screen share too, I can get multiple screens, or I can switch between them, but I might have to remove mine. But, yeah, I'm going to try and interpret this, see if you guys can hear me over audio here. But yeah, peak intensity is at 24 hours from 7 o'clock p.m. What we an hour and a half ago, obviously 24 hours. That will be at like right around 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time in the evening. We can see high-end Cat 3, some models obviously rapid increasing within the next 12 hours by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then ultimately a steady intensification still expected until the evening. And yeah, we're gonna hopefully get that going here. And yeah, here's the cone. Obviously, as of 7 p.m., we're down south of the mouth of the Mississippi River, that area. We're obviously a Category 1 hurricane. It's going to, looks like the westward motion is going to persist, take a more northerly turn towards right around Port Arthur, Texas, between the Texas-Louisiana border. Obviously, we got that M there. That is indicating a major hurricane expected at landfall. And I will emphasize that a major hurricane indicates that we are expecting Category 3 or higher at landfall. And obviously with that guidance, we're anticipating probably obviously a lot of these models are underdoing the strength. Obviously the rate of intensification is what I'm most worried about. A lot of us could be further into Cat 3 and a slight possibility of further into Cat 4. And We have plenty of inferences from some of our references. Now I would like to take the opportunity to ask several of our references here. So Matt and Andre, what do you guys think in terms of strength? I understand that you might have a hard time seeing my thing, so I'm not on an Ethernet or anything, unfortunately. But what do you guys, or Matt, I'm going to start with you. What do you think may evolve out of in terms of intensity?
Yeah. I think the National Hurricane Center's intensity is probably a little too low, and the reason I believe that is because the shear has finally decreased on the storm. It's away from Cuba. It's actually scoured out all the dry air that was wrapping around its center just earlier today. We got this nice big bloom of convection, as you were showing on some of the loop that you showed in the beginning of the stream here. I do think that the National Hurricane Center's intensity probably will need to go up as we get closer to the event. They've kind of held back because there is that possibility that shear could increase, just before landfall. But in my opinion, and several of my colleagues and other friends kind of agree that I don't think that shear is going to affect the storm fast enough to really disrupt the structure of Laura. So those we've seen the crazy plots from the NAM that was showing a really deep hurricane getting below 900 millibars. That's probably too far of a stretch. But what I really think it does is it captures the strong likelihood that rapid intensification is going to occur, and there's a good possibility that we're going to get probably below 940 millibars, maybe even 930, and that would probably put this up into a Category 4. Category 4. Yeah, Category 4. I mean, even just a 3, slamming into the coast is bad enough. But I do think the possibility of us getting up into the Category 4 realm, or Category 4 level, I think it's a definite possibility. I would call for, and I've been kind of calling for it for the last couple of days, I would say like a low to maybe even middle grade Category 4 is kind of where I'm sitting right now in terms of the intensity at landfall. But that's pretty much what I'm thinking so far.
Okay, thank you, Matt. What are your inferences, Andre?
Okay, yes, thank you, Isaac. And I'm thinking around the same ballpark, around a Category 3 to 4 storm. It is quite a possibility of it becoming a Cat 5. We saw this, a couple of years ago with Michael. And with this system, it's going to have a lot of things going for it. Again, like Matt said, the wind shear has dropped. We're starting to see it becoming well organized. And again, it has 24 hours left over the Gulf of Mexico. And with the waters and the very moist environment and the low shear, this has the potential of becoming a Cat 3, Cat 4, even the outside chance of a Cat 5. So again, this system is really getting itself organized, and it's really deepening as we speak. There is some recon data that has found 980.8 millibars, and this could be sub 980s before this night's over with, and it most likely will get to that point very soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Yeah,
Cameron wants to join on here.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I would like to welcome Cameron. He would like to discuss some of his thoughts. Cameron, go ahead and introduce yourself. And what do you think? What do you think in terms of intensity and little ways in track? Obviously you've had pretty good thoughts about just interpreting models and maybe where you think things are going to go.
Well, first of all, thank y'all for letting me join the group tonight. Glad to come in and join the discussion
Welcome.
with you guys. I am Cameron from Mid-South Weather Information and Southern Illinois Weather Information as well. I've been looking at a lot of the models, for most of GSF and the HRRR as of late, and I'm actually looking at HRRR as we speak. I'm on hour 26 of the new run. It looks like the model has been fairly consistent at showing about 958 to 954 millibars shortly before landfall, which would put it in Category 3 to Category 4 intensity, which is what I've been predicting for about the past 2 days. But landfall-wise, it's kind of a question because we don't really know how far east or how far west the system tends to go. I really think landfall is probably going to be between Port Arthur and Cameron, Louisiana. If I were to chase, I would more likely target the Cameron area just to be on the safe side. But with this really holding, a lot of the models holding it to be a high in Category 3 to Category 4 intensity, it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. Especially when it comes to the aspect of the storm surge, which this is, of all the areas that a major hurricane can impact here in the U.S., this is probably the worst place when it comes to storm surge. Literally going into an area that is below sea level, not very good levee systems, not very good storm drain systems, and you're talking about a 12 to 18 foot storm surge blasting this area regardless of a direct or non-direct hit. That's the real scary issue I have with this, other than the fact that we could see 140 to 145 mile an hour sustained.
Yeah, I agree.
It's scary to say the least. I mean, especially with the fact
It is,
that
Cameron.
Marco
It's
has
really scary.
officially dissipated. Which, I mean, Marco has officially dissipated. There's one little supercell top that's still around the remnant low for Marco. But it looks like Laura will have some sort of interaction with that remnant low, which could even intensify Laura a little more just before landfall. And the other thing, this is going to be a nighttime landfall. Very, very late Wednesday night into very early Thursday morning, probably the 1 to 2 a.m. time frame. And it's honestly worst case scenario. There hadn't been a lot of evacuation orders there either. Other than, I think, Galveston and areas surrounding Galveston have done mandatory evacuation starting today. So, see, I got the new run here. It's a pretty scary situation given that there's no shear to shear this out, unlike Marco. It's a good thing that this wasn't a direct 1-2 punch, but at the same time, it's kind of a worst case thing to have a major hurricane like this make landfall in a pretty populated area of southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana. And then you have potentially, I think tomorrow we will have tropical storm watches going up all the way into central Arkansas and southwestern Arkansas as well, with hurricane warnings probably going to get extended all the way to just north of Shreveport.
That's pretty far inland.
It is. I think the warnings are like 2 counties south of Shreveport as of currently for hurricane warnings.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that most of the models have a good hold on it now, other than the NAM 3 kilometer, which I've been kind of ignoring at this point, due to it showing this quote unquote doomsday setup, showing it making landfall 890 millibars. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, like I interjected earlier about the NAM, I don't buy the intensity for sure, but like I really do think that it definitely captures like how crazy warm these waters are. I mean, the waters ahead of Laura are breaking 90 degrees in some areas.
Very
Like
good.
that's rocket
91
fuel.
to
That's
92 degree water temperatures. I mean, for August, that's insane to say the least.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and it hasn't even been a very hot summer either. Like it's been a very weird summer, especially here in the Mid-South. Like, I mean, you normally have several 100-degree days. We have yet to break that, and I mean, we've had highs in the low 80s on some days, which is very rare for the middle of August. And I'm not complaining, but 2020 has been the year of curveballs, and this has definitely been one of them, to say the least. But this is about the only one I can't complain about.
Absolutely.
But
yes,
It looks like some of the I really think the tornado threat just could be very impressive as well. I failed to mention that many times with these hurricanes, especially major hurricanes. But I think Laura has the potential to be a major tornado producer to these feeder bands.
I'd agree too.
Just from looking at some of the bands that came off of Marco from the other night, they were very impressive. And according to the HRRR, from what I am currently looking at, these feeder bands are going to be fairly intense for the most part. More than likely, the tornado threat will max out once landfall occurs across the Louisiana coast. Probably even affecting as far east as New Orleans and southeastern Mississippi. And then an extended tornado threat will go into central Arkansas, northwest Mississippi, my viewing area. And then
Are you chasing him,
maybe
Cameron?
a tornado threat as it blasts east. I don't know yet. It will all depend on how the setup goes. I'm really just concerned about getting through Wednesday and Thursday first,
Yeah.
because I'm completely on top of this.
Yeah, and not only that, we have to worry about the flash flooding as well. There's a lot
Yes,
of
correct.
indications on the models that there is a potential to see 5 to 8 inches of rainfall, even locally higher than that, and that includes parts of Lake Charles and the surrounding areas. And this is not only going to be going along the coast, this is going to be an inland flooding threat as well. It takes a long time for these tropical systems to exhaust all of their power, so the rainfall is going to be one of the key factors here, and it's going to be a really rough situation in a lot of low-lying spots, especially.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the QPF.
I will note one thing, though. It is a good thing on the aspect of the flooding. The flooding will be a pretty serious issue, but it won't be near as seriously as some of these other hurricanes have been. Like, example for Anna earlier this year to dump 20 to 40 inches of rain in South Texas. A slower moving system that just kind of dragged the coast. Laura, on the other hand, is more of a faster ejecting system, thankfully. And it's going to kind of keep the flooding almost to a bare minimum for the most part. It looks like a lot of the bigger totals is going to be once Laura ejects as a tropical storm out of northern Louisiana, and it makes that eastward push as cold front begins to eject east as well, which will enhance the flood threat for northern Louisiana, southwest Arkansas, central Arkansas, which I expect flash flood warnings and flash flood watches to be very,
A
very
lot.
widespread here in the coming days. There's going to be a lot of flash flood watches going out tomorrow, more than likely. I expect Memphis, Little Rock, and Shreveport to start issuing a lot of them. I think Shreveport's actually been on top of some of them so far. I am now looking at landfall.
Yeah, I am looking at the. Oh, we lost Cameron.
Am I not here?
I'll be back.
No. Okay, cool.
Oh, there he is.
That's weird. So it looks like about Thursday 6Z to Thursday 7Z, which will be about 1 to 2 a.m. Looks like will be landfall, and according to the HRRR, will make landfall about 955 millibars, which will put it right there on
That's
the fringe of
big.
high category 3 to low in category 4. It will be fairly interesting to see. I believe the GFS is kind of on the same trend with that as well, but the 0Z GFS has not come out yet.
Isn't that the HRRR, Cameron? So a couple of us said earlier, maybe the pressure could be as low as like 940.
Yes,
I mean, I don't know if that was referred off with HRRR, but I mean, now it's a little bit higher, but still kind of in the same like neighborhood, category 3, 4, somewhere around there. You think still?
Oh yes, absolutely. I kind of went into Retimmer stream earlier to kind of. He said it could even be as close as 900.
I watched him too.
He did state that barometric pressure could be as low as 938, which I don't think it will get quite that low. I think the lowest you could probably see out this is somewhere between 942 and 945 millibars, which I think will still put in that category 4 intensity. I truly believe this will be a category 4 landfall. It will be on the lower end of the category 4 spectrum, though.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the same.
I think kind of everybody, for the most part, has been on that for the most part. high-end I just can't see how the National Hurricane Center looks at a setup like this and expects it to only maintain a high-end Category 2 to low-end Category 3 intensity throughout an entire cycle in a powder keg set in the Gulf. As you can see, as you have been seeing, pressure has been dropping rapidly with Laura throughout the night as it's going through its eyewall construction.
And speaking of that pressure drop, Cameron, I just got a report of 978 with the millibars with the drops on that they just reported. So
it's gonna drop
yeah,
another
that's
5
from
millibars because I think last update was 982, 983.
So it's giving you that signal that it's continuing to intensify overnight. And
Wow.
it's the overnight where the most of it's intensifying as well.
You have to go on.
Notice, on infrared that it showed there was a little bit of a dry slot right in between both areas of convection where that eye wall was going to go through its construction. But it looks like that southern convection is finally taking over that dry slot.
Yeah, that's what I noticed too.
Andre,
it's about to get scary.
Andre, didn't you say in the last pass of this the Hurricane Hunter aircraft, it was at 980? Is that right?
Yes, and with the drops on, it's a lot lower. When you're looking at the raw data, you have to extrapolate it a little bit, and it's a lot lower. The actual pressure is a lot lower than what the raw data shows. So this could be in between about 980 to 978 right now, but regardless, it's getting deeper.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could potentially even be lower than that at some given point, because there comes a point where hurricane hunters aren't focusing on this. They usually call the night and just kind of do updates in the morning, which it would not surprise me if we woke up tomorrow morning and this is 960 millibars. Just given how the Gulf is set up to be right now, I would not be surprised if we woke up to 2 high-end Category 2 to low-end Category 3 status by the morning, or at least the mid-morning. This is at 7Z Thursday. It has it making landfall just east of Port Arthur at 958 millibars on the HRR, which puts it right there on the high Category 3 realm.
Right.
Just fairly impressive. I'm just now getting, I believe the NAM is now coming out. Yes, the NAM is coming out. It's on 18 hours so far. And at this 962 millibars, and it's about 250 miles southeast of the Louisiana coast at this point. This is for 18Z Wednesday. So I don't know. I don't feel like the NAM itself has had a very good hold on it until recently. The NAM was showing landfall earlier on as like 970, 972 millibars. I just don't think that's going to happen. Especially if we're going to get to that point tonight where it could potentially get down to the 970s.
Yeah.
Yes, and like I said, this is going to be a very particular dangerous situation. Things to do.
You want to have your flashlights
over the next 12 to 18 hours. Get all your supplies together, your hurricane kit, and also your COVID kit as well, because again, we are in this coronavirus pandemic, and we need to remember to have both kits on hand. Make sure you have your important documents, have cash on hand, and if you're under any evacuation, voluntary or mandatory, it's best that you guys leave. Because this is turning out to be a very particular dangerous situation here.
Do not do what a lot of people done for Hurricane Michael. Like, take Hurricane Michael as a prime example of what not to do. We had 25 to 35,000 people who did not leave Panama City when Michael made landfall as a Category 5. We understand that this is not going to be a Category 5 landfall for the most part, but this is a very
you never know. It can be
not
sometimes.
Be taken lightly. Especially when you're dealing with over 15 to 20 foot storm surge, especially in a system like this. With gusts that could be up to 150 to 145 to 155 mile per hour gusts. So people just evacuate. Like if you're told if you're in a mandatory evacuation zone A or zone B across Southeast Texas, Southwest Louisiana, please leave.
All right,
I can't stress that enough.
Here's another thing. Isaac, I'll say to everybody.
Yeah, what's up?
If you go under a tornado warning tomorrow, any tornado, you want to make sure you have some kind of helmet. Protect yourself from flying debris, because
Yes.
even adults, kids, flying debris is what hurts people, right?
Yes.
Isaac?
Yeah, I will say there on
Many people
guys,
just forget that.
I got kicked off the computer. I'm actually on my phone now.
Rest in peace.
I know that we've had a little bit of emphasis here on the tornado concerns. Obviously, especially near the center. You know how the pressure deepens quite a bit as we get towards landfall. Even if we do see these kind of tropical, semi-tropical characteristics kind of persisting over sections of the Ozarks, Ohio Valley, even into sections of the Mid-Atlantic. I mean, that we saw the projected track of the post-tropical remnants. I mean, it is
becoming a tropical storm again in the Northeast. Like, that is incredible.
Yeah.
That's very impressive if it does become a tropical storm once again on the Northeast.
Yeah,
impressive.
But you still want to take it seriously.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I've kind of what I'm thinking in terms of like the tornado concerns. Obviously, we are going to see, especially quite a ways after landfall, even. Obviously, there's going to be some embedded circulations within there. Obviously, closer to landfall. I mean, your tropical tornadoes are generally the ones that tend to spin up. Obviously, it's obviously the downdrafts, the spiraling stuff that kind of happens, especially closer to the center. I mean,
yes, you'll have a lot of those what they call mesovortices that can happen near the eye wall. Those mesovortices that are embedded within the eye wall. Yeah, those tend to be the ones that be the more dangerous ones. You think it's just a sporadic gust, and it ends up being something a lot more than just a sporadic 155 mile per hour gust.
Right.
It's very common with these strong hurricanes too, especially when they go through this whole process of going from a northwest motion to a northeast motion, like Laura will be doing. So, yeah, tornado threat will be pretty serious. But like I said, I think storm surge is going to be the main issue here, guys. I believe the storm surge
without a doubt.
The storm surge is.
Yeah, I think
is just what scares me.
It's going to be big.
I mean, especially because coming from my part, I have family who live in Baytown, just southeast of Houston, and they are currently going through mandatory evacuations as of right now, matter of fact. So I've been having to keep a close eye on them for myself. So I'm hoping this was going to be more of an eastward track, but I don't know. It's going to be close, to say the least.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's very close. It's looking at the pattern right now, it seems like the ridge is starting to just establish itself over central Louisiana, so it's going to be pushing this storm into the southwest Louisiana and southeast Texas border. So this is nothing to mess with in any state. Texas, Louisiana, even Mississippi can be impacted by this, with some isolated tornadoes going into Thursday night into Friday, and
especially
also
in the
some
morning
heavy
hours,
rainfall is possible as well, and some gusty
and also
winds.
let's include the rip current issue as well, like especially farther east.
Right.
Like you still have a lot of vacationers across Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. I mean, there's double red flag warnings all across the Gulf. People do not need to be in the water right now, for sure.
And even coastal Mississippi right now is under a storm surge watch.
Yes, they are. I believe 3 to 5 foot for Gulf Shores, Biloxi.
Yep.
Even 4 to 8 foot across portions of Pontchartrain as well.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're only going to be receiving tropical storm force, that storm surge is still.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah, if that.
But the crazy thing is, the NHC hasn't issued any tropical storm watches or warnings for Lake Pontchartrain yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if they expand that even further inland, as time progresses.
It looks like they've done a lot of expanding to the west of Houston for tropical storm watches and tropical storm warnings. But they have hurricane warnings from Galveston all the way to coastal Louisiana, central coast of Louisiana currently.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, like to note, the big thing with the strengthening process as well is that Bermuda high that's sending off in the Bahamas. That Bahama high is really playing a big part of why Laura is doing what she's doing currently, making that little western push, being sandwiched in between that high and in the cold front. It makes it where the Southwest Louisiana coast, Southeast Texas coast, it's gonna get pretty ugly. I hate to say it. It's looking very.
I just
very
don't like
dangerous.
those. I just don't like those nighttime quick tornado spin ups because you don't see nothing. That's the problem, right?
Well, a nighttime landfall in general, like this is what you would consider your worst case scenario, having a landfall in the middle of the night on a work week. It's
Lot
not
of
looking
people-
great.
All that water coming in, and you don't really see it coming. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think people are going to take the evacuations very seriously. Unfortunately,
I just don't think they would take it seriously at all. I mean, I see people out there not obeying nobody. I mean, they just want to get mad and people need to wear their masks too if they're out doing something, right, Isaac?
I will say that the big hassle is with in terms of evacuations and whatnot is I'm particularly more concerned about those within areas such as Beaumont, Port Arthur, those areas.
Houston, Galveston, your bigger population centers, yeah.
Yeah, so even portions of the eastern Houston metro area, they're under tropical storm warnings. I mean, obviously Houston, the city, generally the biggest hazards within Houston coming out of Laura, obviously, are tropical storm force winds. Obviously, we're going to see plenty of rainfall, 6 to maybe 10 inches of rain, locally heavier amounts, if I'm correct. And I will also point out that obviously closer to the coast you get, obviously that's where the storm surge issues are, like several feet potentially along the coast. I mean, there are warnings and obviously mandatory evacuation orders. I think Cameron mentioned Galveston. We're under those. I mean, Galveston, obviously there's going to be it's going to add on to the amount of stress that, Houston generally sees in terms of traffic. I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot of people trying to get out of an area. Some people are staying back because they think they can ride it out. I mean, you just got to think of how people are processing these things, and no one's invincible, and just think of it that way. Just remember
Right.
Galveston, when it got impacted by a hurricane a little while ago. People were standing back, and then pretty much the whole city got wiped out. Pretty much. I mean, it happened numerous
Got train wrecked by a Category 4 hurricane. Got absolutely train wrecked.
Yeah. And
well, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys to it. Thanks for having me tonight, and I'm gonna continue to monitor everything, and you guys continue on.
Thanks, Andre.
thanks, Andre.
Thank
Sir,
you,
appreciate it, Andre.
and yeah,
Thanks, Andre.
yeah. So as Andre has left us here, I'm going to try and get ready to close things up for this segment here. I'll jump on to do future feeds during the throughout the day tomorrow, of course, especially as we get critical new developments here, especially heading into tomorrow morning. Probably there's going to be quite a bit of changes and stuff like that and whatnot. But I just want to take some time, kind of gather some closing thoughts. I mean, firstly, I will mention that obviously there is a consensus that the National Hurricane Center does anticipate this to be a major hurricane at landfall, and the intensity guidance, a lot of it may be a little bit underdone a little bit. I mean, what I've been concerned about with that graphic, hopefully you guys had the chance to see it earlier. Those who are viewing us here had the chance to see that graph earlier. I was mostly paying attention on those model outputs, the rate of how things are intensifying. Obviously, we had consensus. The lower the pressure, the stronger the intensity. How things are going to be sustained, and obviously we're looking at potential maximum sustained winds around category high in category 3, maybe low in category 4. That's kind of where I am as well. I mean, generally because a lot of our colleagues on Storm Community have kind of mentioned the same thing, and then I'm just kind of interpreting, just how things are rapidly increasing over the next 12 hours, kind of getting a little bit of steady things towards landfall, kind of near the peak. And then, obviously at landfall, things kind of hold together, tropical wise, how the tropical characteristics of the system probably will likely hold together for a while. And obviously embedded tornadoes, strong sustained winds, and obviously, my concern is that even with higher gusts, generally what we're looking for in terms of sustained winds is the 1 minute average. So like how strong the winds sustain themselves over a minute time, and when they find that kind of stuff near the center, then that's when they make those critical new developments. And I've been keeping a close eye on that reconnaissance screen down there, but obviously the internet cut out a minute ago, so I'm actually on cellular data. So I will point out that they have that mission going on now. I was going to upload that image there. I was looking at that graph a bit earlier. Obviously, I think they were getting closer to where the stronger winds are, the pressure, and I'm going to keep taking a look at that later on. And so obviously we want to be careful, especially those close to the coast. Listen to instructions from local authorities if anyone's based down there, and obviously just be prudent, be careful, especially those that are traveling and those entering other states or going to be near crowds. I mean, this is 2020. We got we have many sorts of society related things to be careful about as well, and all the stress with hurricanes.
The coronavirus.
Yeah, right. And Cameron and Matt, or I'm going to start with Cameron here. What else do you think, probably in terms of impacts, do you think might be a little more on the worrisome side?
Like I've stated before, I think first and foremost, storm surge, especially for those who decide not to leave their wonderful homes on the coast. When you're dealing with a storm system like this that could potentially produce 15 to 20 foot storm surge, it's going to become a big problem. Of course, the sustained winds, I personally believe, could be 140 to 145 miles per hour sustained.
Wow.
Will be a big problem. Widespread power outages it's going to probably be widespread outages all the way up into central Louisiana, not just on the coast, but as Laura makes her progression north, still as a Category 2 to Category 1 hurricane. You have your isolated tornadoes, your flash flooding threat. Thankfully, flash flooding threat won't be as serious as most other hurricanes are due to the faster movement of Laura. As of currently, I think she's moving 20 to 25 miles per hour, I believe. So, like I said, storm surge is going to be the main thing. Especially being in that portion of the country, it's going to be a very concerning ordeal. A lot of the forecasters, regardless of it not being a Category 5 hurricane, this hurricane has the potential to be catastrophic, on that catastrophic level when it comes to damage. So, like I've stated before, and I'm going to state it again, y'all please take this seriously. Like, this is as serious as they come when it comes to hurricanes, especially in the Gulf of Mexico in August. And I will
They
also
can be
like
dangerous.
to note that Absolutely. I will also like to note there is another tropical wave that will need to be watched that just come off the African coast. I kind of mentioned last week about the multiple waves that were coming off the coast of Africa. These have not yet been discussed by the National Hurricane Center, but I have noted that they could cause concern, especially since we are due for potentially one of the busiest Septembers on record.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we got an active one coming up for the next month. I mean, it's going to
Yeah.
get very interesting, gentlemen.
Yeah,
So yeah, thank
I
you,
think so
Cameron.
too, Cameron.
Yeah, Matt, do you have any closing thoughts too?
Yeah. Cameron hit the really big points to take away with this. Storm surge is gonna really make this like $1 billion disaster. I mean, this will probably be the last Laura hurricane we see. I mean, that's almost a given at this point. Looking at it on the satellite tonight, it has all of the looks that, like, basically the textbook look that this thing's about to really go off. Like, I think we're in the early stages. We're in the early stages of rapid intensification. I think Laura's going to look completely different than what you guys are seeing tonight. By the time you wake up tomorrow, that thing's probably going to be really well organized. You have a nice clear eye in the middle, and it's going to be a lot stronger. But I'm just looking at it on the satellite. It's like a textbook, like rapid intensification kind of setup. And because like we talked about earlier, the waters are like 90 degrees and higher. I mean, this could really blow there's even that chance that this could really blow our intensity predictions out of the water. When you get waters that are that warm, I mean, it's not out of the question that we're expecting 930 to 940 millibars, maybe a little higher, but it could end up being lower than that, and it's something we have to keep track of. And then one last thing I have to say is a lot of people don't take hurricanes as seriously, or no, they base it off of the category of what that hurricane is. So like I know a lot of people don't take action until it's like a 3 or higher, or maybe even a 4 or 5.
Take really seriously each one of them.
Yeah, and you don't focus on the category of this hurricane. I mean, the storm surge is going to be enormous, and
Don't let your guard down.
Yeah, we've been pounding that. We've been pounding that into the stream that the storm surge is going to be really bad. And if people aren't taking this seriously, I mean, there's going to be a lot of deaths from
could lose your lives.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
from a 15, 20-foot storm surge. So it's really important that people take action and not focus on the specific wind speed or what category is it? Is it going to be a 3? Is it going to be a 4? Oh, hey, it's only going to be a 3. Maybe I shouldn't leave, but you really should.
Any of those
You need to always
very
brace yourself for
dangerous.
the worst case scenarios at all
Yeah.
times. You need to look at the impacts, regardless of
Mhm.
intensities. You have to be based off of everything on the potential impacts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
just the way it is. I also noted that there is a lot of convection dealing with Florida. There's a lot of thunderstorm activity. It's a
So that would
fairly
be a lot of spinning
sizable
for
hurricane as
tornadoes,
well.
right?
It's not a monster hurricane by no means when it comes to size. It's not like it's not like a Katrina or anything like that. But it is a big It's a big hurricane for what she is so far. It's
Mhm.
very impressive to see on satellite. Like Matt didn't note, I really think we are going to look at a very different buzzsaw looking type of hurricane in the morning.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me if it does reach high end category 2 by the morning.
Yeah.
Or at least in that category 2 range, because last
I
note
won't
I
roll
think it
out
was
going to
976. I think last note was 976 millibars on pressure.
I won't roll out
and
going
continuing
to
to fall
4.
rapidly. It's time.
Yeah.
And
And
be ready.
To anybody who's not leaving, I'm really afraid that people aren't going to leave, and then this hurricane ends up being much stronger than what we're even saying it's going to be tonight.
Absolutely.
Because maybe someone's only expecting a low end category 3 to hit land, and then all of a sudden this thing's like at the high register of a 4 or something like that, and it ends up being much worse than expected. When you have, like I said, when you have waters this warm, I mean, a lot can happen, and people really need to get out of there.
It's just like I've talked about in multiple of the weather pages that I'm in with you guys. It's the textbook powder keg August setup for the Gulf. A system gets out, it absorbs all that wind shear, and it just leaves a wide open Gulf open and ready to go for another hurricane to just explode and have major impacts on the Gulf.
Yep.
Oh, take these as jokes. This is pretty serious.
These are Laura is already exceeded expectations with a lot of people already. Given that the circulation itself did not actually make landfall, but one time in Cuba, the circulation stayed south of the main island of Cuba, and it maintained high tropical storm intensity the whole way, which was scary enough to look at, to think that it was maintaining that high tropical storm values all the way until it exited Cuba last night. Now we're really looking at it's time. It's go time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very intrigued to see how we look at Laura in the morning.
Yeah,
whether it is a Category 2 or even a low end Category 3. We don't know at this point. We do not know. She's already taken expectation that it is 2020. With 2020's expectations, who knows what we're going to be dealing with in the morning.
Yeah. And Matt and Cameron, you guys have definitely had some very good thoughts. We will continue to refer to some of your comments on Storm Community here and kind of pass along like anything that we definitely note that is concerning and whatnot. And before we close tonight, JD probably wants to close us with a couple of comments about impacts and whatnot.
Well, I just wanted to say some things like Cameron and Matt used tonight, but I'm not going to be surprised tomorrow, but a lot of people's not going to leave, right, Matt? You think?
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah,
and people's going to drive through power lines too. I can see people driving through power lines. Can you?
I mean, some people are reckless.
I would hope people would have more common sense than that. Electricity is something I would not want to fool with.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I work around it every day. I have my respect for it.
I expect these people need to take the storm very seriously, and this is the time to back away. Do not wait until the emergency manager says to go, and when you wait, then they have to come and pull you out of the water. They're not going to do that. Sometimes they don't, do they?
I'm going to quickly show you guys the graphic from the HRRR real quick, if I can get this down to regional outlook and go to South Central Coast, South Central West. There we go. Given that this is at 3Z on Thursday, I hope I can flip this around. Probably not.
Yeah, you should be able
Probably
to.
not.
If you go to your screen, I mean, I could go to mine. Hold on, I'm gonna try and see what my controls are. Oh yeah, there's a mic cam buttons. You
I
should
have
see
it
a
right here.
microphone camera button. If you aren't able to get to it, maybe you can flip your phone around.
Yeah, I got it right here. So,
all right,
I'm hoping everybody can see this.
Yeah,
but this is at 3Z. This is very late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. As you see, it's at 954 millibars. Expected landfall at some point will be, according to the HRRR, will be somewhere between Port Arthur and Cameron, more than likely making direct impact to Port Arthur. But regardless of this, anybody from Houston, Galveston, to the central Louisiana coast needs to be on their heels, because as unpredictable as Laura has been so far, this track can do a little wobbling. It can go a little bit of anywhere at this point.
Yep.
So,
100%.
All right. Yeah.
I hope everyone is prepared. Because I mean, we're definitely dealing with a major hurricane at this point. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it at this point. We're all going to be looking at a major hurricane making impacts across the Gulf Coast. People need to go ahead and be prepared and be ready to do what they have to do to keep themselves and their families safe.
Yeah.
Because I will say this: your life itself is not replaceable. Material is. So.
Mhm.
Yeah, life
And
is very
hurricanes can be
precious.
very
You gotta-
strong.
Life is very precious. You can replace material. You can't replace all life. So
Yeah.
And those hurricanes are stronger
Again,
than you, right?
gotta focus on moving on. And yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, JD, we'll get to your closing comments here in a minute. Yeah, I was going to say, kind of adding on to what Cameron was saying, sometimes, when, kind of weather and how it kind of ties into other circumstances and whatnot, cultural impacts, that's another thing where, if it makes landfall and some people aren't paying attention, they just think it's regular thunderstorm. I mean, other people are obviously, everyone probably knows about it by now with the wireless emergency alert system, all that stuff they're blowing out on the cell phones and everything by now.
Absolutely.
I mean, everyone probably has an idea of what's heading their way. However, some people are like, some people just don't know what to do, and that's another thing that gets people into a lot of trouble by especially
making
those
bum-headed mistakes. Like
just
I
like
think a lot of people,
yeah.
for the most part,
thing
panic.
where people are like, I'm not gonna get it. There's the mortality rate's so low. Like, I mean, even if the mortality rate's like 1%, or rather, I should say the hospitalization rate. I'm just using that as an example. There's 99.999% of us won't get it and probably shouldn't be too worried. But I mean, it's the 0.0000001% of people that are impacted by the virus that matter. And it's like we're trying to save that 0.001% of people that get impacted. I'm just kind of saying that, it's also, we got to just remember that. Kind of makes me think of that Bible verse, the leaves the 99, somewhere in Matthew, if I'm right. I'm just saying that it's just something that comes to mind. But I mean, life is very precious. So any decision you make in terms of impending disasters and whatnot, obviously it's your precious life, it's your family that you got to look out for, and obviously if you're leaving behind property that could get hit, I mean, sometimes it's important to, just focus on safety. That's always what comes before material things in life. So I mean, and obviously we're going to be talking about some pretty significant disaster relief efforts on the worst case scenario, and just like with that derecho and whatnot, I mean, there's still going to be widespread infrastructure and impacts and whatnot. So I mean, we gotta really be mindful about that. And another thing that I am a little bit more worried about is just how broad the impacts are. Maybe if the more significant impacts are narrowed to a certain area, like near landfall and whatnot, I mean, that's still like millions of dollars of damage. Hopefully no fatalities, but I mean,
possibly up there in the billion. Like we're probably going to be looking somewhere down the barrel of near $1 billion worth of damage.
Oh shoot, yeah.
Especially if we're looking more of a westward push of the track to making a direct impact on big metropolitan areas like Houston, Galveston, areas of southeastern Texas that are the more populated areas compared to it making landfall somewhere on the Louisiana coast.
One thing to point out about a farther western track too is it'll stay over water longer, and it'll actually have a chance to get even stronger if it takes that more western wobble to the track.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely.
We definitely have not been wanting the western push by no means. We really want this to just dissipate, do what Marco did. But that's unfortunately not going to be the case. It's definitely not going to be the case.
It's not going to happen, looks like.
I
Yeah.
also do
If
want
we
to
did
point
that,
out though,
if we did, we'll be
like,
happy.
the hurricane force winds will not just be along the coast near direct landfall. The hurricane force winds will be well inland, probably as far north as southwestern Arkansas, to at least have Category 1 intensity, sustained and or gusts. So just be very mindful that just because, hey, I live 300 miles north of the coast does not mean my impacts are going to be of what's going to be on the coast.
If
You're
you're
right,
that,
it's not going to be near as
you're
powerful,
wrong.
but you're still going to be dealing with hurricane-like conditions. So people need to be mindful that, hey, I may not live on the coast, but I'm somewhere along this track, and I will be impacted at some point. Whether it is the flood potential,
If you
whether
think
it
that,
is
you're wrong.
the isolated tornado threat, and whether it is the hurricane force winds. Because, I mean, here on the HRRR, it still has this hurricane sitting somewhere in the middle of the state of Louisiana at 974 millibars, which still puts it as a low-end Category 2 to high-end Category 1 hurricane. So, I mean, the impacts are very widespread. It's going to be a very widespread event, not just for the
What
coast,
time
but
would the
for
tornado
a
start tomorrow morning?
It looks like the tornado threat will not start until later tomorrow night. It looks like once feeder bands start making their way on shore, probably late afternoon to very early evening. Once the sun starts going down, it's probably when we're going to start seeing some feeder bands making their way on shore. So the tornado threat will be on the increase throughout the night tomorrow night. But it looks like tropical conditions probably start as early as, I think, 8 p.m., 8 to 9 p.m. Could begin to see some tropical storm force.
It's gonna be crazy.
I think everybody just came back. That was weird. But
Yeah.
tropical storm force is going to begin fairly late tomorrow night. And then hurricane force winds will come probably somewhere close to the 11 to midnight frame Thursday morning, and then landfall will probably be 2 to 3 a.m. Thursday morning, possibly as late as 4 a.m. So
Sounds about right.
people have less than 48 hours to go ahead and get prepared to do what they need to do.
Yep.
And
That's
we'll
right.
all of us here will be on top of the situation, giving updates as regularly as we can, regardless of if it's on my personal page or if it's in the community page or on here on Stormwatch. We will continue to give updates throughout the day, throughout the night.
100%.
I mean, this is scary.
So
I
guess we've got, yeah. So I hope everyone's preparing and paying attention to advice and multiple sources of news, media, information, especially sources that are trustworthy and whatnot. We are going to. I suppose we're getting ready to run out of time here, so I will go ahead and kind of wrap things up here. Matt, Cameron, and JD and I have always emphasized that obviously just we got to think about what could be the worst case scenario. A further westward track obviously could mean obviously it stays over water longer. I mean, the pressure would and it falls more. I mean, that could lead to even higher intensity with the storm. And I've looked at the projections, and obviously we still have that shot of getting like higher in Category 3, low in Category 4, maybe even a little bit closer to the middle. I mean, I've looked at the intensity guidance. I think it was probably closer to 140 knots or so. I mean, I obviously I'm back on my phone, so I could take a closer look at that. But I mean,
I believe it showed around 140 knots. Yes.
140 knots. Yeah. I mean, that translates to about 150 miles per hour. So I mean,
translate to 155 miles per hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Category 5 is 156 miles per hour.
Yes.
It shot at being maybe a bit shy of that. I mean, depending on how long it stays over water and how far west the track is. But I mean, that's something we got to pay really close attention to. I mean, I guess we've covered everything we need to up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you have any further questions, you can contact our page, and we will try and get any concerns addressed. I guess this concludes our Tropics Watch for today. We will be back tomorrow. or I will be back
What
tomorrow.
time?
And yeah, I believe we're going to be shooting for the regular 3 o'clock time, and I think I might do a little morning jump on and see how things are. But
Yeah.
I appreciate everyone.
I will be joining the 3 o'clock one late since I work until
We will
4.
be,
But
yeah,
I
we
will be
will see
joining
you
that late.
soon. All right, see you.